Gaslighting is not just lying, it is something more subtle, more strategic, more dangerous. It is when someone makes you question your own reality, not by shouting, not by obvious manipulation, but by slowly, repeatedly, confidently telling you that what you saw, what you felt, what you experienced didn't happen, or didn't happen the way you think it did. And the most dangerous part, gaslighting is psychological manipulation designed to create doubt. Doubt in your memory, doubt in your perception, doubt in your judgment. And once doubt enters your mind, because a person who doesn't trust themselves will start trusting the manipulator instead. It sounds like this. That never happened. You're too sensitive. You always overact. You're imagining things. Notice something. The focus is never on the behavior, it's always on you. Gaslighting shifts attention away from accountability and places it on your supposed instability. And if you're not careful, you'll start defending your sanity instead of addressing the problem. Here's how it works. You confront someone about something that hurt you. Instead of listening, they deny it, confidently. Then they add a twist. They question your memory. They minimize your feelings. They imply you're irrational. And now the conversation isn't about what they did. It's about whether you're overreacting. That shift is intentional. Gaslighting survives on confusion. The more confused you are, the less confident you become. And the less confident you become, the easier you are to control. So how do you deal with it? First, regulate yourself. Gaslighters want emotional reactions. If you explode, they point to your reaction as proof that you're unstable. If you cry, they call you dramatic. If you get frustrated, they say you're aggressive. Calm disrupts the strategy. When you stay composed, you refuse to become evidence for their narrative. Second, anchor yourself to facts. Gaslighting attacks memory, so protect it. Write things down. Save messages. Keep track of events. Not to obsess, but to ground creeps in. You don't rely on emotion. You rely on evidence. Third, stop over-explaining. Gaslighters thrive when you try to convince them. You repeat yourself. You clarify. You defend. But understand this. Someone committed to misunderstanding you cannot be persuaded by better wording. State your experience once. I remember it differently. That's not how I experienced it. We'll see this differently. You don't need their agreement to validate your reality. Fourth, recognize the pattern. Gaslighting is rarely a one-time event. It is repeated distortion. If every conflict ends with you apologizing for something you didn't do, if every discussion leaves you doubting yourself, if you constantly feel confused after conversations, that's not miscommunication. That's manipulation. And awareness is power. Fifth, set boundaries. You can say, if you continue denying my experience, this conversation ends. If you speak to me that way, I'm leaving. And then follow through. Boundaries are not threats. They are standards. Finally, understand this truth. You will not win by out-arguing a gaslighter. You win by refusing to play the game. You win by trusting yourself, by strengthening your clarity, by limiting access if necessary. Gaslighting only works when you abandon your own perception, so hold on to it. You do not need someone else to confirm what you felt. You were there. You heard it. You experienced it. And adulthood is not about convincing everyone you're right. It's about standing steady, even when someone tries to make you doubt your own ground. Gaslighting loses power the moment you stop questioning your sanity and start questioning their pattern. And that shift from doubt to awareness is where your control returns. Gaslighting distorts reality in a way that is subtle enough to confuse you and powerful enough to destabilize you. It is not loud manipulation. It is not always aggressive. In fact, it often sounds calm, confident, and controlled. That is what makes it dangerous. It does not attack your character directly at first. It attacks your perception. It makes you question what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, and eventually what you believe about yourself. When someone gaslights you, they are not simply disagreeing with you. Disagreement is normal. Two people can experience the same event differently. Gaslighting goes further. It denies your experience entirely. It replaces your memory with theirs. It insists repeatedly that your version of reality is flawed. And if that insistence is consistent and confident enough, doubt begins to form. It often starts small. You bring up something that bothered you. They respond, "That never happened." You pause. You replay the memory in your mind. You are certain it happened. But their certainty makes you hesitate. Then they add something else. You're remembering it wrong. Now the focus shifts. The issue is no longer what occurred. The issue becomes your reliability. Over time, these moments accumulate. You begin to preface statements with uncertainty. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you said. I might be overreacting. That hesitation is not accidental. It is the result of repeated distortion. When someone consistently challenges your recollection of events, your confidence in your own mind weakens. Gaslighting does not just question memory, it questions perception. You express hurt and you are told you are too sensitive. You point out disrespect and you are told you are dramatic. You notice inconsistency and you are told you are paranoid. The emotional message underneath is clear: your reactions cannot be trusted. Eventually, you begin filtering your emotions through their approval. You wait to see how they interpret the situation before deciding how you feel about it. This is where the distortion becomes deeply psychological. When you stop trusting your own perception, you outsource reality to someone else. You begin asking them what happened instead of relying on your own awareness. You allow their narrative to override your intuition. And slowly, your internal stability erodes. One of the most damaging effects of gaslighting is cognitive dissonance. You feel something strongly, but you are told it is not real. That internal conflict creates anxiety. Your body responds to what it experienced, but your mind is pressured to dismiss it. This tension can make you feel confused, disoriented, even ashamed. You may start apologizing for reactions that were completely reasonable. Gaslighting also isolates you internally. You may hesitate to share your concerns with others because you are unsure if your experience is valid. You might think, maybe it is just me. That self-doubt prevents you from seeking perspective. The manipulator's version of reality becomes dominant simply because it is louder and more persistent. It is important to recognize that gaslighting relies on repetition. One denial might create frustration. Repeated denial creates instability. When every disagreement ends with your memory being questioned, the pattern becomes psychologically exhausting. You start avoiding confrontation because it leaves you feeling mentally drained. Another layer of distortion involves rewriting history. A gaslighter may change details of past events to support their current argument. They might say, "You agreed to that when you did not," or "You were fine with it before," when you express concerns. If challenged, they double down. Confidence becomes their weapon. The more assertive they are, the more you second-guess yourself. This process can lead to something even more concerning: self-monitoring. You begin scrutinizing your own thoughts constantly. You replay conversations obsessively to check for mistakes. You question whether your feelings are justified. Instead of focusing on the behavior that hurt you, you focus on whether you are interpreting it correctly. That internal hypervigilance is exhausting. Gaslighting distorts reality because it blurs the line between truth and narrative. It replaces shared understanding with controlled storytelling. The manipulator frames events in a way that protects them and destabilizes you. If you challenge it, they imply you are confused. If you insist, they escalate the doubt. The goal is not resolution. The goal is control. Control becomes easier when you lack confidence in your perception. Decisions become harder. Boundaries feel uncertain. You hesitate to act because you are unsure if your concerns are legitimate. That hesitation benefits the person distorting reality. The less certain you are, the more influence they gain. Recognizing this distortion is the first step toward reclaiming stability. Understanding that repeated denial and minimization are tactics, not truth, helps restore clarity. Your memory may not be perfect, but consistent self-doubt introduced by someone else is not a coincidence. When confusion becomes a pattern after interactions with the same person, it is worth questioning the pattern rather than questioning yourself. Gaslighting works by planting seeds of doubt and watering them with repetition. It turns normal disagreement into psychological instability. It makes you question your memory, your perception, and eventually